Good morning, kindergarten readers. Today in Reading Workshop, we are going to talk about comparing and contrasting books. So when we compare one book to another, we can think about what's the same and what is different. So when you are reading today your Just Right books, you can do this with any book that you're reading. It's kind of like what we've been doing in school when we talk about text-to-text connection. Same thing. You can make a connection text to text when it's something that is the same when you're comparing. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what is different that an author might do than a different author when you are looking at books. And I'm going to give you an example. So I have two books today. One is called Monarch Butterfly, and it's about a butterfly. And we're going to be discussing insects and butterflies in our next upcoming theme. And then this one is called A Monarch Butterfly's Life. So this book by John Himmelman is more about a story of a butterfly's life, but it does talk about the life cycle of a butterfly. This book by Gayle Gibbons is more of a non-fiction book. So this one we might call realistic fiction, and this one non-fiction. But there are some things that are the same, and there are some things that are different. And we're going to explore that today. So we can first look inside a book when we look at the chart that's going to be on the screen here for you in a moment. You look inside the book, and you can look on one page or the other and decide if the sections have things that are the same or different. This will usually happen in a non-fiction book or an information book. You can also compare different books, maybe on the same topic like we're going to do today, or maybe with your reading partner or your adult or your sibling, you're just going to compare whatever it is that you're reading and talk about what's the same, what's different. And you might use these words. The difference between the Monarch Butterfly and the Monarch Butterfly's Life is, and you'll fill in the blanks when you just have a discussion. What's the same about these books? I want you guys to look closely and see what you see is the same. We can get some information from the covers. They're both about monarch butterflies. You're right. Okay, so I just want to remind you, strong readers discuss books. So please be discussing what you're reading with your adults or with your siblings every day when you're doing reading workshop. Okay, readers, here we go. I'm going to show you our chart. Readers compare and contrast books. So we talk about text to text, comparing books. So we can look inside the book and look to see in different sections, especially in a nonfiction book, that they might be different or they might have information that's the same. When you talk about books with your reading partners, you can say, in this book, and the other person might say, but in this book, so it might have different information in different books. So you might say, that's what these speaking bubbles are saying, in this book, but in this book, And you could also talk about saying the difference between the monarch butterfly and the monarch butterfly's life is, and we're going to talk about that together. What's the same about these two books? So we're thinking about what the difference is and what are the same things. So I want to remind you guys that strong readers discuss books. So when you could be thinking about these things when you're reading your books, but you also need to talk about your books, especially with your adults, every day. So friends, I'm going to give you an example right now. In The Monarch Butterfly by Gayle Gibbons, she goes through the butterfly's life cycle, which we're going to be talking about. Each page talks about each part of the monarch butterfly's process. First, there's an egg. Then there's a caterpillar larva. Then becomes a full-grown caterpillar that molts and grows and grows and grows. And as it grows, it molts its skin because it keeps getting bigger and bigger. And then finally, it attaches and forms a chrysalis. And then we know what happens next. It waits in the chrysalis for more than 2 weeks, and then it comes out to become a beautiful butterfly. So as you looked in this book, you saw that each page had a different part of the butterfly's life cycle. And in this book, The Monarch Butterfly's Life, he talks about the monarch butterfly's life cycle as well. But he goes through it kind of in a story way, which is a little bit different than how Gayle Gibbons presents her book. So there's a difference, but it's the same information. So we're going to see here the chrysalis, and I wonder if you can find something that's the same or something that's different about this chrysalis and this chrysalis, looking at how the author showed in each book a chrysalis. Same topic, but a different picture. Okay, kinders, I gave you a little think time. On this chrysalis, it gives the information that the skin splits and moves up to the top, and the skin falls off and a new strange form appears. It's called a chrysalis or a pupa. The chrysalis is like a blanket that's wrapped around the body growing inside. And we can see that it looks a little bit different here than on this page. And this just says her skin hardens and she becomes a chrysalis. So this book gives us a little more information, and this book is more like a storybook with science information, with the actual life cycle of the butterfly. So that is an example of comparing and contrasting two different books with the same information, and it's also called text to text. When you go off to read today, I want you to think about, how is this book the same or how is this book different? And I want you to use those words when you discuss in your book talk after you've done your reading today, what you notice as a reader about comparing and contrasting books. Now, you might not have books on butterflies. That's okay. It could be anything that you're reading. You can compare and contrast. But it might be fun to pull out all your insect books and start to be comparing and contrasting detectives. That's all for now, my friends. Happy reading.